So once we go into the setup and maintenance, the navigation would be, will change the setup to recruiting and candidate experience. Okay, and here I'll just go to candidate experience. See, yeah, the initial stage team, you will be little confused to, for the navigations, like, should I go to the requisition, candidate experience, job application, or recruiting and so you will be little confused on, identifying, like, which functional area should I choose. Okay, so those are absolutely fine. It normally happens, but you have to, start practicing so that you will have a better understanding of it. Yes, I'm sorry, just a minute. So sorry. So once we go to the candidate experience, the task you will see is job application flow configuration. Once we go to the job application flow configuration, you will see all the job application flows which are there in the system. And then just like in all the other screens, you will also see in filter options. So once I click on filter, you will see like, you can filter the job application flows either using the flow type or like, using the status or using a recruiting tag. And then if you wanted to search by any specific, you can able to do that. Or if you wanted to start creating, you can just click on the create button to start creating a job application flow from scratch. Or if you wanted, we can also have a duplicate. Basically, we can just click on actions and then we can choose this option, copy to create a new application flow. Okay. So once you do this, you will just take a copy of this, current application flow, and then you can start, creating it. So now we will create a job application flow from scratch so that we can see all the details. So once I click on the create button, we will just have to put a name. Lateral. I'll just put this lateral. And then next you will see application flow types. Okay. So here you have four different options, four different type of application flows, which we can create. First, we have talent community. So if we, when a candidate is applying, or submitting the profile for a talent community section, then, we can use this talent community here. And this one, uh, we will see what is a talent community, everything little later. We have a separate topic for it. Okay. Next, we have apply. So apply is basically whenever the candidates are applying for a job requisitions, right? Then that is what we call it as the apply flow. And then the request information we already saw, like, if we wanted to trigger a secondary request information from the candidate, then we can able to use this request information. And then we have event. So this event is a new function, new option which was added recently. Okay, and this event, it is not part of the Oracle Recruiting Club. Okay, it is not part of the ORC. This functionality is coming as part of the recruiting boosters, which is an add-on module for the ORC. So we have like ORC as the base module, and top of that, add-on as an add-on module, we have recruiting boosters, and these events are coming from the recruiting boosters. Just okay. So these are the different type of job application flows which we have. Okay. So for now, for our demo session, we will start with an apply flow. Yeah, and then we can give a description. And then you have the contacts information here. Unlike, we saw the context in, the candidate selection process, right? We can also choose some, contacts in the job application flow. But here in the job application flow, you will see only the recruiting type. Whereas in CSP, if you remember, we can create contacts, we have multiple options. Like, we can create basing using job family, job function, location, organization. So using all this, we have different options, right? But when it comes to the job application flow, you can use only the recruiting type. So let's say here, I will choose lateral, or maybe we don't have lateral, so we'll choose professional. Choose professional. And then just like in the CSP, we can also default this particular value. So once we are done with this, we'll just click on save and continue, so that we have just created an application flow. And the next step would be we have to start creating a version.
Harish, if we wanted to create the application flow based on country, like different for US and different for India, then that is
Mhm.
not possible in ORC.
No, it is not possible. You can still go ahead and create it, but in the job of when you create a requisition in the configuration section, right, you will
Mm-hmm.
see all these options. So this context is basically for restricting the values in the while creating the requisitions. For example, if I just go to the hiring here, right? So I just open this particular requisition. Just reading the page. So if I just go to the details tab, and then in the configuration section, remember in yesterday's session, when we created a requisition, we choose the candidate selection process. There we also saw the job application flow. So there the team has to manually select, something here in the configuration. So you see this external application flow, right? Here, when you're creating a requisition, you'll see list of all the values. And from the values, we have to pick one. Okay? If we enable contacts, then what happens is when I'm creating a requisition for professional, then this particular job application flow would be defaulted. That's how it works. You got it, Rizwan?
Yes, Harish, yeah, got it.
Right. So Now, once we create the job application flow, we have to create an versions. Okay. Unlike the CSPs, the candidate selection process, one advantage with the job application flow is we have version mechanism. That means like let's say today I create a version, okay, and then let's say I keep the version as V1. And then we start creating requisitions using this particular job application flow. And then tomorrow, let's say maybe after 6 months or 1 year, the customer says, Harish, we have been through a reorganization. Now we wanted to we wanted to change the way how we are collecting the details from the candidates. Okay? We wanted to change the flow, we wanted to add some new flows, remove certain flows, and we wanted to reorganize, change all the flows. Then we can still able to do that without hampering their existing data. The reason why, we can just simply create a new version, and then we can we can just activate it, so that let's say for example I choose the new version to be active from 7th of March. Okay, so any candidates who are applying from 7th of March, they will see the new flow. Okay? We don't need to make any changes in the requisitions. Okay? So that's the advantage, of all the components where we have a version-based data. So that's one advantage in the job application flow compared to the selection process. And well, let us see like the job application flows. Okay? So in the job application flows, so we see here, right? These values, these are what we call it as the job application flow options. Okay. So these are the different options which we have in the job application flow. Let us look at each of these options. First, we have legal disclaimer. What does it mean? What do we mean by legal disclaimer? Is let me just quickly show you.
I guess legal disclaimer is something which the organization is, promising the candidate that they'll not misuse the information what is being provided by the candidate.
Uh,
This is the kind of
yes,
agreement.
uh, that is true. But let me also just give you some detailed, insights on the legal disclaimer.
Yeah.
Just take one second time. So when the candidates clicks on apply now, they will start entering their email IDs here. Okay? And then below you will see some option. Okay? Let's say for example, if I just open JP Morgan's, they're one of the biggest customers in US who are using the ORC carriers, ORC and the carriers. So here you see this, I agree with terms and conditions. This is what we call it as legal disclaimer. This is what we call it as the legal disclaimer. Okay? And the contents here can be customized. For example, if the customer says, instead of I agree with terms and conditions, I wanted to change it to something else, then we can able to do that using, custom personalization, using a tool called user interface, we can able to discuss. We can able to customize it. But if the customer says, Harish, but I wanted to display, a big text, with a very big text, displaying the terms and conditions, privacy policies, a lot of things. Then once you hover your mouse on top of these terms and conditions, you will see an hyperlink, and when I click on hyperlink, you get to see all the details. So you can just put some URLs which will route us to some other page where you can mention all the legal disclaimers in detail. You can able to do that. Okay? And where do this content, right? This terms and condition content, where are we configuring it? Any guess, team? Where are we configuring this informations?
I guess within
Content.
contents library only.
Yes, exactly. In the content library, and the category would be legal disclaimer, legal disclaimer. And we have a big challenge here in the legal disclaimer. What is the challenge? In the instance, we can have only one legal disclaimer across the application. We cannot have multiple legal disclaimer contents. If you have practiced, your content library, then you would have, seen this. In content library, at any given point of time, you can have only one legal disclaimer. Okay? So then if, then people, customers ask, then Harish, how about, how will we, uh, so how will we, able to create multiple contents? And the requirements would be like, for each country, they will have different terms and conditions. For India, it would be different. US, it would be different. Canada, it would. So how do we handle it? We have no other option apart from, creating a link like this. For example, the JP Morgan, they are like, they have the highest number of job applications in the ORC module across, all the customers. So how they have managed this? They have a separate page for terms and conditions. Though, like, this page could have been made, a lot better, but I don't know why. Okay. So, here you can just mention all. See here, for example, they have mentioned English, and then I believe this is Chinese or Japanese. This is Taiwan. Okay. They have mentioned Taiwan terms and conditions, and then for each and every country, they have mentioned it. Okay, this is for APAC, and then Japan, and this is for excluding Japan. This is for Singapore, and then I believe this is for China. So they have mentioned, the privacy policies for each country here. This is how we can able to mention that, and this would be an standard issue when you're doing implementations with multiple customers who are present in the multiple countries. So that's all about the legal disclaimer. Next, we have e-signature. So what is an e-signature? If you remember, I think we have not seen that in the job application flow. Okay? In the career stage, we will see that also. So when a candidate is applying to a requisition, at the end, the candidate has to click on e-signature. I can just quickly show you the signature. You see this e-signature here. Okay? If you want this particular section to be displayed, then you can just enable the e-signature. Okay? And if some customers, they want to have an e-signature, and some customers, they don't want to have any signature. Okay? In such case, you can just keep this section as like, blank. Okay? So that's the purpose of this e-signature. Next, we have something called as campaign opt-in. So what is a campaign opt-in? If I just go back here. So here, right, you see like, I agree to receive marketing communications, but let me just try with, another domain. So here, right, you see before, we don't have e-signature here. That means, the e-signature is not enabled for this particular requisition job application flow. Okay? But here you get to see two checkboxes. One, it says, I agree to receive updates about new job opportunities. I agree to receive marketing communications. Okay? So the marketing communications is the campaign. So if you select this checkbox, then you will get to see this. I agree to receive marketing, campaign communications. But if you select this particular job alert opt-in checkbox, then you get to see this first checkbox here, which is also what you will see. This is marketing is campaign, and the job alert is coming from this particular checkbox. Next, we have one-page application flow. What does one-page application flow means? Like if I just go here, if you see in this particular job application flow, right? I have 4 pages here. The first page, is for one section. Second page is for another section. Third page is another section. Fourth page is another section. Whereas if I go to this particular requisition, I see all this, here coming in one section. If I go to second page section, it is in the same page. Third, fourth, everything in the same page. So the candidate can just keep scrolling rather than click on the next button. They can just keep scrolling up and down. This is what we call it as one-page application flow. If you select this particular checkbox, it will be one-page application flow where the candidates can have to scroll through all the sections here. If you don't select this checkbox, then you will see a job application flow like this, where the candidates has to click on next or back button in order to switch between the sections. So these are the different application or job application flow options which we have. Next, we have block library.